Hello and welcome to Electripreneur Secrets, the Electricians podcast. We're here with you 5 days a week to help you master sales, simplify pricing, and deliver premium level service. I'm your host, Clay Newmeyer. With me, as always, my partner and esteemed co-host, Joseph Lucani. We are on different ends of North America. East
Mhm.
to west coverage right now, right here. Joe, how are you
East
doing today?
Coast.
East Coast, yeah. Big shout out. How's it going, man?
I'm having a great day. It's one of those things where even though it's been a good day, these times are some of my favorite because I absolutely love hanging out with you and talking about this stuff.
I appreciate that. You know what? I can't help but be a little self-conscious right now as I'm looking in the camera. If you're watching this, oh, wrong side, mirror, there it is. This
Mhm.
hair on the side of my head just grows straight out. Looks like I just woke up, but I assure you it's just time for a haircut. I have been awake for hours.
Yeah, you know what? It's one of the things I think I got to get a haircut too. It's really
Yeah.
just, it's just getting out of control.
Do you nair it? You ever
No,
nair
I
your
used to
top?
nair, but I used to nair. Turns out it creates terrible chemical reactions if you keep it on long enough. So now I got the skull shaver. I'm gonna stitch that into this one. If you're bald or want to be bald, get that thing. It is an absolute machine.
But if you naired your head and it went all red from the rash you'd get, then you'd be a redheaded stepchild electrician like the rest of us, right?
That would be true. In all honesty, I would be the redheaded stepchild in that unfortunate example. Yes, you're right.
That was a little joke at all of us as electricians in the home service industry, of course. Frowned upon. No one seems to want to help us. Another great reason that we're here, trying to help
Mhm.
ourselves here. A couple of master electricians with business addictions. And today, of all days, Joe decided to stir the pot with a Facebook post.
I
What did
normally
you
don't do
say?
that. It's
What did
like
you do?
I might as well have just said like I like kicking puppies or something like that. It was just some random thing.
I like
So
kicking puppies.
so the argument came up where I asked and said, "Hey, I love going to the door with certain tactical tools. These are the tools that I always carry to every service call. What tools did you guys like to bring, and how did you find a way to keep them concealed on your person?" And it was like pitchforks and torches because
Really?
people were saying like, what do you mean you're hiding your tools? No, I show up with a full install. One guy said he shows up with a full rollout bag, like the whole like rolling cantilever, parks it in front of the customer's porch, whether they to install a quote or anything.
I can't blame them though. That's efficient. That's efficiency. You have all your
Oh,
tools right there. Doesn't that display efficiency to the homeowner? Doesn't that
no.
say, like, speak volumes to, I'm going to get this done quickly at the lowest possible price?
Yes, it does. And that's the problem.
Oh,
And let me explain why. So the last thing you said is the whole reason why it doesn't work. We need to maintain something known as the law of scarcity. When something is scarce, by definition, it becomes more valuable. When something is readily acceptable or accessible, or it's there, or it's front and center, it's seen even on a subconscious level, even if it's not top of mind, it appears less valuable.
hmm.
The ultimate goal is not going to the door with nothing but your thumbs. You're going to have tools on you, but you're not going to look like you need this job and that you fully intend on doing this job right now. And I can explain why if you're open to it.
Yeah, for sure. I've got some questions coming up.
Hit me. Go for it.
Well, I know you've also done some HVAC and plumbing training.
Mhm.
Does a comfort specialist bring all their tools to the door?
No, absolutely not. Like it's literally, it's almost like blasphemy to consider doing that. If you're
Interesting.
coming with anything more than like an iPad and a flashlight and no, you don't
Is
do
that
anything
for
more
the
than
same
that.
reasons?
Believe it or not, yeah. So a lot of times what we need to do is we're trying to create a level minded of scarcity. We're trying to make it seem that we don't need this job immediately. Because whether the customer is aware of it or not, there's two thoughts that are going to come into their mind. If I show up with all of my tools and I put them right at the door, what am I communicating to that client?
Well, that you're ready to work.
Shows I'm ready to work,
You're a
but it
worker.
also shows that I'm not planning on telling them no. I'm putting my advantage in and saying, I'm going to put everything right here. And I'm committing before you've even told me what you need or what your needs are or who you are or anything about you. I'm committing to doing this job.
Well, can I interject with one thing? What
Sure.
about assuming the sale? Isn't that a sales tactic?
Assuming the sale is, but the thing is that we can't want it more than the customer wants it.
Mm,
So what we need to do is we're setting ourselves up in intervals. Now, granted, throughout the process, we're going to be building more and more and more value. What I've learned through years and years of trial and error is what tools communicate the most value, where you can put them on your person so that they're less visible, and what would the customer say in certain situations. I have gone to the door with tool bags. I've gone to the door with belts. I've gone to the door with rollouts. And eventually, we finally settled on the tactical tool alignment because what it did was it allowed me to have every single thing I needed for a service call or an opportunity call without looking like I had to do the job.
right. And guys, if you're part of the VIP with us here in the Facebook community on the Electricpreneur Secrets Facebook page, please let us know what's your preference. There's
Mhm.
already a running conversation. You could actually go to Joe's profile and join that conversation too, but would be happy
Mhm.
to hear it here as well. What is your preference? How are you rolling currently? And
Mhm.
at this point, are you cursing us in the background, or is this something you might be open to? Would
You
love to
know,
know
it's going to
that.
be weird. I have a feeling that like if I have like a pinch in my arm, some electrician has a voodoo doll. They're just sticking with a razor blade going like, no, we always bring our tools.
You know what? One of the most important skills in life is presenting with an open mind
Mhm.
and just coming to learn every day. I believe I've got something to learn from everyone. I know I learn from you every day, Joe, and I learn
Well,
from a
thank
lot
you.
of guys in this room as well, and a lot of guys that are listening to us currently. So it's a powerful tool to use, and I can see your points here. Now, really, though, really,
Mhm.
isn't it? I mean, still, maybe I'm beating a dead horse here. Let me know.
Mhm. Sure.
But wouldn't it be a benefit for them to actually see me as an installer over a salesperson?
100%. Now, I feel like we're almost playing two sides of the coin here. And let me explain why I say that.
Okay.
I remember I've had two positions in my career. One where I worked with another company and they recognized that I could sell. They put me in the salesperson's uniform. That means I had my plaid pants, my button down, nice polo. I had the company car, the white brand new Hyundai. They had the clipboard, the nice shoes, everything. And it went terribly because
Mm.
people could see the pitch the moment I rolled into their driveway. They
Felt
saw it.
very door to door.
It was very door to door. It was like, this is a salesperson.
Yeah.
This is not a person who is going to work. And if this is not a person who's going to work, there shows that their intention is to sell me something. What I instead did from there was I went to the boss and I was like, dude, this isn't working. I don't like this and I feel uncomfortable. Give me the install van. So I got back into my technician's uniform. I said, screw it. I'm not wearing this uniform anymore. I want to look like a tech. Even if it means I don't get the company car, fine. I got into my technician's uniform and I showed up looking like an installer. Didn't mean I brought all my tools with me, but I had a technician's uniform. I had my boots. I came in a van that looked like it could be worked out of. And suddenly the walls went down. The walls went down in the customer's minds because now I wasn't a threat. That's why in our process, we talk about threat aversion and what we need to do and the steps we got to take to not appear as a threat. But devil's advocate here, you made a point, and that point would normally be like, well, shouldn't we now bring our tools? No. And here's why.
Okay.
You only need a certain amount of tools to perform any kind of opportunity call, meaning I need to open a panel for
Yeah.
sure. No matter what, I got to open my panel. I've got to take covers off of plates. I've got to maybe take a device off a wall. So having an 11-1 screwdriver was super helpful. What I did was I collapsed it so it could have a smaller profile and fit in my pocket. You know you're going to need your flashlight, no matter where you're going, whether crawl space, attic, basement, unlit basement. You need a flashlight, right? That would go in my left leg pocket. Then we all know we need a meter. There's no electrician in the world who's saying, I don't need a meter. And you could be your Fluke, you could be Klein, you could be Greenlee. I don't care. I'm not trying to start a whole nother war here.
Yeah.
But you'd have a meter and it would be in the case in your back right pocket with the prongs tied up so they wouldn't stab you in the butt.
Mm.
You'd have your outlet tester, which was a combination hot stick made by Greenlee. I loved that tool. And I had that in my right pocket. So now, really, I've got screwdriver, flashlight, hot stick, outlet tester, meter, and then I would wear floor protectors and then my phone. All of those things, I could show up to the door without you seeing any tools on my person. I had every tool I needed to complete a service call, at least on the preliminary inspection level. And then from there, once they showed me that this was something they were committed to and they wanted to work with me and that they were eager, then I could go further to level 2, where you would then be able to go back to the van, get the tools you need for the specific application, and then you'd solve the customer's concern. And even then, you weren't just fixing it. You were presenting a range of choices from the finest money could buy to the most bare bones a customer could have. Who am I to decide what I'm going to install for them? I'm going to bring my install bag. I know just before I even meet you, I know what you're going to need to the extent that I have everything in the world. It's unreasonable to think that.
A tad presumptuous.
Mm-hmm.
I need to go on the other side of this, Joe, and ask you another question, though. What about the tablet? I noticed in your list of things, a tablet wasn't mentioned.
Correct.
Why
The
just a
tablet,
cell phone?
correct. So the tablet wouldn't come in until I knew that I was going to be making a presentation. The reason being is, let me play devil's advocate with you.
Yeah.
Imagine a technician shows up to your door. Now, obviously, you're an electrician. You're not calling an electrician. I'm your HVAC tech. I'm here to tune up your condenser. But the first thing you see in my hand is a clipboard, and I look nice and clean. What do you think I am?
Salesperson.
Now, just by that, I could be holding this for a work order, right? I could be holding this for a work order. I could be holding this because it's company policy. But your first thought was, this is a salesperson. By definition, the moment any customer looks at you as a salesperson, you were immediately devalued. Whether we want to admit it or not, look at the trade we're in. So many of us are so opposed to charging more than just $120 to $200 an hour because we view salespeople as the lowest form of electrical service. So if you show up looking like a sales guy, the customer sees it, they recognize it, and they're taking a mental step back.
Yeah, for sure. That makes some sense. So let me ask you this. You mentioned in your prior business that your partner kind of preferred to do it the more prepared way, having all tools, and you preferred to do it this way, obviously. What sort of differences did you notice over time? And is there anything you could specifically say that was sort of a measurable result from doing it different?
So this is what I can say. And I speak highly of my former partner. If you're ever listening in the background, hats off to you, bud. But this is the situation that I noticed. When you come to the mindset of, I'm trying to get in and get out, unfortunately, what ends up happening is efficiency becomes the highest concern. It becomes the thought of saying, well, I have 5 calls today. I know when my efficiency's down, I'm being paid more. I have to charge more. I've got to do all these things. I'm running around. I'm burning energy. It's not worth it. So as far as efficiency doing, great electrician, got his stuff done. No issues there.
Yeah. Like many, many, a majority, I would say.
Unfortunately, when you looked at the averages and the sales and the conversions, it was much, much less than mine. Now, obviously, you could say lack of practice, lack of commitment, whatever it was, right? But it was, in my opinion, the first impression that's always given. If you don't show up in your clean uniform, you don't show up like you show up in yesterday's t-shirt, or you show up and your boots aren't looking nice, or you show up and you're ready, like you're like dropping a whole thunk of tools on the front door. You got your bag slinged over your shoulder and you're like dropping it here and doing it here. All right, what are we doing today? that first impression that you're going to give the customer is that you have nothing else going on.
Right.
And if you have nothing else going on, what are the odds that you feel capable telling the other person no? If you have nothing else going on, can I realistically tell the customer, no, I'm not working with you today?
Yeah. You've already got skin in the game.
Unfortunately, it
Which
becomes
reality is
much.
you do. But in showing them
Mhm.
that scarcity law becomes challenged again.
It does. I
Now,
mean,
let me play a numbers game with you quick before we get
sure,
too far away. Because
hit
I
me.
don't want to put pressure on you to throw anyone under the bus, but we know from prior podcasts and prior explorations that you are doing about 1.3 million consistently.
Yeah.
Average ticket of?
So I had two average tickets. So an average service call ticket was 2,800.
Yeah.
My average opportunity call ticket was 5,400.
Okay. So now let me just say the person you're talking about prior, obviously all respect given, were they breaking through 1 million in sales? 900,
Nope.
800,
Nope.
700.
Nope.
Okay. Average ticket, you said 5,000 on opportunity calls.
5,400, but yes.
5,400. Sorry. Were they reaching 4,000, 3,000? Okay. So there's some comparable metrics here. If you
Correct.
guys can't see, that was Joe shaking his head no. So there were differences, and this is one of the big ones you would say then.
Correct. There's a lot of different things that we can do. And I want everyone to understand that I'm not speaking out against electricians and you wanting to be efficient. I understand, like, I get it. It can feel like you don't have the time. We have to convince the customer that we're ready to do the job. We've got to sell them on us. I get the understanding of where you guys are coming from, but we don't have to be salesy. We can be in a situation where, as real service professionals, they called us to their homes. They're the one with the problem. If we show up already saying, no matter what you've got going on, no matter how you treat me, I'm ready to do this job right now, I have devalued my own profession.
Mm,
I'm ready to dig in and work with the right person. If you're the right person who shows respect to me and my craft, you will never find a more dedicated electrician to work with you. But if you disrespect me or you treat me in a way that makes me feel like you demean me, I am going to walk away from the call. But I cannot walk away from the call if I've already planted and parked myself.
yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. And I'm feeling the need to tie this into a couple other topics that we've addressed.
Mhm.
And where am I going with this? Joe, I may have lost it actually.
It's
Every
all
once in a
good.
while, I draw a blank,
And
and
that
that just
happens to me too.
happens.
How
So I
many times,
apologize
right?
for that. Where the heck was that going? Yeah, I've lost it.
It's
Help me
okay.
out, Joe.
Let's,
We're getting back
all
on
right.
track here.
We're picking it back on track. So, continuing on, I want to describe why certain tools matter and why others don't. Is that fair?
Yeah, let's hit it.
Okay. So I was listening to the Facebook post that people were putting in, and some of the tools that were being listed really were like, why? Like, some people were like, I bring my impact with me on every call. I bring my circuit tracer with me on every call. I bring my bender with me on every call. It's like, wait, what? Like, in what circumstance? Like, one person said they had a collapsible bender in 4 pieces. Like, it was a stick that collapses and you had the head and you put it in the bag and everything was done. My logic is we're not Nostradamus. We cannot realistically know everything this customer is going to be experiencing. And if you spend enough time as a service electrician, you realize that the calls that you end up doing aren't the call that the customer asks you to do. I mean, I've told you I've sold generators on outlet calls or sold generators on light bulb changes. It's not because I'm a wizard, it's because we have a process. That process needs to be followed to ensure that you're creating the best impression.
Mm,
And I found through intense, like, you know me, intense process guy, through extreme trial and error, I found that these tools in these locations on your body were the most practical and communicated the highest amount of value.
yeah,
If you want to say you know better, I'm never going to stop you. I can only guide you to what I know best and what I've seen.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so stuck on this.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'm recalling now what I lost earlier, and it was about that assuming the sale.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we've talked about in prior podcast episodes, how on the way there, it's not time to start troubleshooting the problems. That's
Correct.
not a good idea. What is a good idea is to replay tapes, recordings of yourself, and be
Mm-hmm.
committed to proper diagnosis, not
Mm-hmm.
pre-diagnosis. Is that
Yes.
also important in tying into this theory that we're talking about today?
I think that would be pretty relevant. So, like the thought process of, well, what are you doing before you even get to the call? And like, let's say the typical example, customer calls and says, my countertop has no power, my breaker's not tripped. Every single electrician right now is going, oh, it's a GFI. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to reset the GFI, and that's that.
Yeah.
But the thing is then you completely bypass this customer. How did they use it? Why does this matter to them? What is it controlling? When did they notice it? Who else in the home does it affect? Those are things you won't know until you talk to them, until
Yeah.
you bond with them. Your number one goal isn't turning the tools. Your number one goal is solving an emotional concern that has only been present because of an electrical concern.
And speaking of numbers, I mean, technically, you could get that call, already have that line item prepared in your head, in your price
Mm-hmm.
book, be ready to hit exactly where that is, send the invoice, be paid, and be in and out in 27 minutes flat,
You know,
maybe less.
I actually, I remember I actually hired a guy way, way back in the day. And I found out along the lines he was a get in, get out kind of guy.
Yeah.
Because what he would tell me he would do was for efficiency. And because code allowed it to an extent, he was like, well, I don't need to actually cut a whole line in the sheetrock. I can just cut a small little quarter size hole underneath where each beam is, put a little notch into it, fish it over that. And then now I don't have to cut sheetrock, spackle, and paint. Even though you know for a fact he's only got maybe what, a quarter inch of sheetrock protecting his wire.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of people who are going to be super clever, super smart, technical, savvy minds who have found a way to nuance their way through the code to get the most efficient, quickest installation done. I'm never going to be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is to say, you have a concern, but I don't know you, your family, or your home. And I'm willing to learn about you and then work second. Only if you truly need or want my services will I give you a price. And until that moment, until I'm thoroughly convinced that you want me and my service, that's when the sleeves roll up.
Yeah. I can appreciate that as a consumer as well as your partner and as an electrician. Here's why. Here's the big reasoning for me. If this, I mean, it sounds like this is the first time you've ever met this individual, a first time working with them.
Mm-hmm.
That also implies that they don't have an electrician that they trust currently,
Correct.
which, of course, in our process, we learn more about at another step. And that's a whole
Mm-hmm.
other topic. But that in itself is a problem, isn't it?
It
And
is.
problems are opportunities.
Agreed. And there's actually one other thing that you kind of inspired me to think about. So thank you
Sure.
for that. So there's also something known as the law of differentiation.
Mm,
We need to be different than every other contractor that's coming to the door. So let's say, sake of argument, every other contractor was right. We're wrong. Every other contractor is right. And you need to show up with a freaking roll up when you're ready to go to a call. What would it say? Would it at least cause the customer to pause if they said, where are your tools? And your first thought was, well, my number one goal was to learn about you and your family because I want to make sure that I'm only offering things that you really either need or want. And I'm never going to push something you don't want. So would you blame me if I wanted to get to know you and your family a little bit first? And we could take it from there.
no.
Now, at that point, the customer, what are they going to be thinking?
It's
We
getting
don't
personal.
know.
Building a
It's getting
relationship.
personal now.
Yeah. And you know what? For some, maybe that's a moment of guard. But again, we did a whole episode on taking it to the ridiculous and in recognizing that not everyone's your customer, too.
Mm-hmm. That's
We
very true.
prefer customers who want great service and long term relationships.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a one and done, I mean, Talk about it like an actual relationship with a spouse. You looking
You
for
know
one
what?
night stands or are you looking for marriage?
Nicely said on that one. And you know what? You're right. Not everyone's going to be your customer. And the thing is, following this, it actually helps you determine that faster. Because I remember there was one specific example where it came up, and I was doing a job in Newburgh for anyone who knows the area, because it'll make sense.
I do now.
But I was doing a job in Newburgh, and the customer had on his list that he had a broken outdoor light fixture, right? And I didn't show up with my tools at the door. I showed up with my tactical tools and I was ready to go. And his
Yeah.
first thing was, "Where are all your tools?" I'm like, "Well, I want to get to know you and your family and figure out what we're going to do. And then from there, only offer things that make sense." And the guy was like, "I don't give a shit about that. If you can't fix this light for $75, I'm not your guy." And then the whole thing was done right there.
Awesome.
And I'm like, "Okay, so just to confirm, I want to make sure I'm not misunderstanding you. If I wasn't able to do the work immediately and my price were to exceed $75, even if I did a higher quality installation, better customer service, better warranty, that would completely disqualify us, right?" He's like, "Yeah, I got a business meeting in 35 minutes. You got to go." And I'm like, "Okay." But the fact is that the only reason he told me that was because he didn't see tools at the door.
Perfect.
So either way, even in the situations where some people are like, "Where are your tools?" that actually can help you,
Yeah. Get
because
the
I
truth out.
never want to sell you something you don't need or want.
I'm feeling like a Tom Hanks moment coming on, a bit of Forrest Gump here, like life's like a box of chocolates mixed with the last analogy I used. One night stands are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Is that
I
fair to
almost want to
say?
make I almost want to make a herpes reference. Like,
Yeah. Okay. We went there. That just happened live on the podcast. So, Joe, we got to wrap this up. That's a good half hour, absolute deep dive on why and how value can be increased without tools as an
That's
electrician
true.
in the home service industry. What would you say are the action items then? Give this a try, maybe to
Yes.
start.
So if you would allow me to take both,
Yeah.
all right. So the bare minimum, like your very, very bare minimum, is just run the play, right? The reason why is you'll never learn something new trying the same shit you've always tried, right? It's just not going to work. Isn't that the definition of insanity? Like all of you who are saying, "I don't know why I'm not closing more deals. I don't know why I'm getting all these shit leads. I don't." Try something different. I'm telling you from experience that this is the only way that I would do it, and that it was a proven process that worked. So at
Yeah.
the very least, just try it. Is that fair for a bare minimum?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. The all-star action is the understanding of why. You have to operate the mentality that I am not going to offer my service if I want it more than they do. I will only offer it if they want it more than me. And in order to do that, I need to get consistent commitments that they want to move forward. And commitment one is our pre arrival process. So if you run this initial play, know that you are getting a subconscious commitment and continue to push for that throughout the remainder of your call. If you want tracked advice on how to get there, contact us. We'll give you our process. But we need you to know that the only way it's going to work is if you commit to it and you run the play.
I love that. Can I add a little nugget to it?
Give it a little sprinkle.
Yeah, just a little sprinkle there. Consistent activity, doing something once and then calling that the result and then making adjustments on it is also something that will make you insane. So please don't just do it once, as Joe said, but do it a few times. See what you like better. Hope that helps you guys. And I hope this single little nugget breaks you through $1.3 million in revenue this year. As we know, it's a little piece of it and all the wisdom that Joseph the sales bot Lucani has to share with us. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Guys, we're here with you 5 days a week to help you with things like this: mastering sales, simplifying pricing, and delivering premium level service. Next time, I'm going to get through an entire episode without a brain gap. I won't
You
miss
know
a
what?
thing.
You are human, and humans are allowed to be human.
If you
Nothing
guys
but love
didn't
for you,
tell
brother.
already, we got rid of all the fancy shit to just show up and talk with you and give you real actionable advice from actual experience and knowledge and the very things that we teach in our program, guys. So please join us again tomorrow for more. Look forward to seeing you there.
Take care.